Well, we already know a thing called application virtualization, hyper-v. The same technology is now used for server applications.
Yeah.
Not directly for Exchange or SQL, but in the beginning for web-based applications and SQL type of applications, or scripting scripts, PowerShell scripts, etc. So there are a couple of things you can do now and some things you can't do yet. But the idea is that you will have a separate image for your operating system, a separate object, a separate part for your application. You have the hardware, and those three together are like Lego stones.
Yes,
yeah,
from Denmark.
You just put them on top of each other, and you can take them apart.
Yeah.
And that makes it very flexible to roll out, because if you need another server, you just roll out another VM or 2 VMs or 10 VMs, and all you have to do is stream that application to those virtual machines, which are basically an operating system, a standardized operating system from the template, and you're in business.
Yeah. There is also a parallel to the Azure thing, the Azure service in the cloud. Microsoft plays it as a platform as a service. They also will get the hyper-v server parts. So maybe in the future there will be a thing that will be managed both the private cloud and the public cloud, but we will see, I think.
Well, the product is has been shown in during the management summit last March. It's called codename Conchero.
Mm-hmm.
The idea behind Conchero is that you will be able to manage the combined resources in Azure and in your private cloud. So it will actually manage a hybrid cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tool which can be used by IT administrators. It will be very easy to use, and that's where you will see the first contact between the private and the public cloud. And as you probably know, in Azure you also have a VM role, like you have a web role and a SQL Server role. The virtual machine role is a little bit comparable to a hyper-v virtual machine. It's actually more scalable than a hyper-v virtual machine. I believe we can scale up to 16 CPUs now in Azure.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, so it's. I've always been told that the hypervisor in Azure will be the edition of hyper-v in the next version of Windows.
So that would be interesting.
It's like Microsoft preparing for the next phase. So they are able to test the new products at a very large scale, like hundreds of thousands of servers. So all they've learned there, they will try and put that in the next version. I can't say anything about the next version. I don't know all that much about the new version, but...
And you are under NDA, you are...
As an MVP, you hear a lot, but you can't say a lot, and that's sometimes a bit frustrating.
Okay, I have a last thing I want to ask you. There is the iSCSI target 3.3. It's now free for everyone, and that would be, I think, a nice thing to play with as a SAN storage system, a cheap SAN storage system. What are you thinking about that?
Oh, it's a very nice piece of software. I've known it for a long time now. I remember the product was built by a company called String Beans. I don't know how many years ago, but String Beans was a private company who developed the iSCSI target software, and Microsoft bought it. I think 4 years ago, I'm not sure, but they bought a company and they put it into their storage server. Yes. The nice thing about the last release is that you don't need to you don't need the storage server anymore. You can just download the target software, the iSCSI target software, for free, and install it on any R2 server. Yeah. In my home lab, I have it running, and it's very easy. I just an old server which is running R2 with lots of disks, and I just installed the iSCSI target software to provision my other hosts or even my laptop. So back in the office, we have a lab with all kinds of fiber channel storage, iSCSI storage, but those are the more expensive SANs. But if you want to try out a really decent piece of software for iSCSI, I can really recommend the iSCSI target software. Mm-hmm. and there was even some doubt about whether you would be able to do some things which apparently couldn't. But when I talked to the product team, I cleared up a couple of misunderstandings, because if you're going to use shared storage, you want to make sure it's very available. So what would be nicer if you would be able to have two separate paths and use MPIO, the multipath I/O, to distinguish between or to make the path more available. But somehow there was a communication that in combination with a cluster, you wouldn't be able to use the multipath.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really stupid, because why would that be? So I talked to Jose Barreto, he's a storage in the storage product team, and he passed me on to some of the developers, and he said, "Hey, that's strange. That piece of information still dates from the 2003 Windows time. So it has to be taken out." So they're rewriting the documentation right now because of what I thought was strange, and it is strange. So you can even use the iSCSI software with a multipath in combination with, let's say, one storage server and 2 or 3 or more hyper-v hosts or any clustered node, and still be able to use the dual paths.
Oh, that's very nice. I think this is a first-hand information for me, because I also read in Twitter that it's not possible to use MPIO with a iSCSI target.
Aiden Finn, he is a virtual machine MVP. I talked to him a lot. He wrote a book, as you know, for which I was a technical editor. I think it was, you know the title?
Yes, it's Mastering Hyper-v Deployment.
Right. Yeah,
the world is very small. Our listeners from the podcast had the chance to win one of these books with a signing from Aiden Finn.
Okay, great. Yeah, he's a great guy. I talk to him a lot. When we are in the States, we talk to each other a lot, and we have the same interests, of course. But he wrote a nice blog on the iSCSI target software, and there was a huge list of comments because of that one single piece that didn't work.
Okay.
So I wrote a piece. Hopefully, you will publish my answer. But the problem is solved. So all those people can be happy. They can use the dual path and the MPIO stuff with clusters.
So I have one more question. You said you have a lot of storage in your company, and with Fiber Channel and iSCSI, and I want to ask you about Fiber Channel and iSCSI. There is always this different opinions about what is better for the cluster or generally for a SAN. What is your opinion about that?
It's always been a very difficult question. It depends on in what time period you were. A couple of years ago, we would be very conservative and say, well, no, Fiber Channel is the only way to go for the enterprise, because it would be the most developed product from HP, from EMC, from IBM, from NetApp even. Although some companies have moved into iSCSI very rapidly. Well, HP didn't. So they stayed with Fiber Channel for a long time, because we are always dealing with HP a lot. We stayed in Fiber Channel relatively long. So most of our customers have HP EVAs or the Fiber Channel type of storage.
But HP bought Left Hand.
Yes, well, HP decided not to develop so much storage anymore, but instead buy all the knowledge and buy all the products. So they bought Left Hand, which is actually a piece of software called SAN IQ, which is basically the same kind of software like the iSCSI target software, except there is much more to it. You can make clusters of storage devices, so for availability and even for multi-site clusters, it's a really nice product. So they bought Left Hand, they bought 3PAR for a couple of billion. They've also bought another company, can't remember at the moment, but they bought 3 storage companies in a very short time frame. So what does that say? Well, that storage is still important for HP, but they want to be very close to the new developments.
Okay.
And I think it was difficult for them to keep up with the competition, although they had a very good storage product. HP AVA has been very successful for many years and will be for the coming few years, but gradually you will see the left end, or it's called P4500 or P4000 series. You will get the 3-par series. I think 3-par will be, even at the low end, be a big competitor to the EVA. And we at Noble have a cloud proposition, a cloud service, and we also decided to buy a 3-par storage system, which is really expensive. But if you know that 7 out of 10 of the largest cloud providers use 3-par, and not for nothing, because it's a cloud-based storage type where provisioning and multi-tenancy and flexibility is key to the product. So we really believe that HP made a very good choice by choosing a 3-par. And coming back to your question, iSCSI and Fiber Channel is in the same product. And that's important. Sometimes you don't want to choose. And in the case of hyper-v, currently we don't support Fiber Channel from a virtual machine yet. So if you want to have shared storage in virtual machines directly, you have to use the iSCSI software or iSCSI products.
And I think even the EVA got the iSCSI.
There is a separate product which you can hook up between the switches and the controllers, and then you will be able to provision iSCSI storage.
So as a cluster MVP, you would prefer iSCSI?
I think iSCSI is quite a good product to use now, especially with the higher speeds. Previously we had 1 gigabit, now we can use the 10 gigabit. The Fiber Channel had been moving from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 and now maybe to 16 or maybe even faster speeds. But with 10 gigabit and maybe 100 gigabit Ethernet, which is around the corner, I think speed doesn't really matter anymore. And as long as you separate the storage traffic and the LAN traffic, don't mix it too much, keep it separate like Fiber Channel, I think you will be okay with iSCSI. And we also see lots of other things in virtualization land, like I/O virtualization and converged technologies, where you have both Fiber Channel and Ethernet, or Fiber Channel over Ethernet. And you see those Ethernet and Fiber Channel combined, so you have the best of both worlds.
Okay. Yeah, so this was a lot information we talked about. I would like to thank you for the time you have spared to give this interview, and I really liked it to talk to you.
Thanks very much, and hopefully your viewers will also enjoy the interview.
I hope so. Thank you.